this is KARL Wallinger from World Party, and you're listening to Rabbi Sol Solomon on Days Gone By.
Oh, shalom, shalom. Good morning, my friends, my enemies. This is Rabbi Sol Solomon, the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I'm very excited to be talking to a musician. I've been talking to so many wonderful musical people like Sophie B. Hawkins and Janice Ian. And now we have another great artist. You might know him from the Waterboys. For a little while he was with them. Then he started his band World Party, which has been around for years and years because it basically is just him, and he's doing solo work now. You can see KARL Wallinger in Denver, Colorado on June 6th. He's playing at the Soiled Dove, perhaps the most disgusting name for a concert venue that I have ever heard. And he'll be in New York at City Winery in July as well. So please, will you welcome to the Daverhood, KARL Wallinger. Shalom, KARL.
Hi, shalom, Rabbi. By the way, I'd like to say, I'm not doing any solo work. It's all World Party.
Oh, it's a full band.
That's not saying, I haven't fired myself.
Oh. Well, that was the main question, first of all, that I wanted to ask. When you left...
World Party.
What party? Well, no, you haven't left World Party. You are World Party.
Yeah.
Why did you choose?
You can't believe it. It's attached to me.
Well, here's the question. When you left the Waterboys, why did you not just call yourself KARL Wallinger and World Party, or KARL Wallinger? Why did you feel...
it's KARL Wallinger, which is a bit like being called, Emu Sumac or something, weird. I wanted to form a band, and there's a sort of band of the usual suspects who I normally pluck people from, so it's a kind of pretty consistent lineup, over the years. So it's a kind of band, even though it's not a band, so... It's a very good answer to when is a band not a band.
Okay, wow, we are getting into existential questions here. Maybe we should get back to the African and European swallow.
My cardboard box this morning, full of nothing. So, hey.
You mentioned just before you got on the air here, you are a proud smoker, and you don't find many of those.
It's stupid in that respect, but I mean, what can you do when you're addicted? It's an addiction that's stronger than anything, I think.
Well...
But it's a crazy world because we've been corralled into this new, we really care about smokers and we don't want them killing us all with their passive smoking and, it's a crazy thing, but we're quite happy to have cars and fumes and nuclear weapons and nuclear...
Well, wait a minute. First of all, we're not happy to have cars with fumes. I think we would all prefer electric cars. It's the auto industry that won't make them, but...
Yeah.
Now, when you were ill for all those years, weren't you...
Very naughty. I shouldn't be doing this at all, but it's just one of those things,
But
I got kind of addicted by driving around in the family car with the windows up with somebody chain smoking in the front years ago, and I've been a smoker ever since, really, So.
And you weren't forced to quit.
You shouldn't try this at home, kids.
No, absolutely do not try this at home. Not marijuana, not regular cigarettes.
I don't know about the marijuana, but certainly shouldn't try the tobacco anyway.
So should not try tobacco. Just do good things.
Marijuana's not addictive. It's not addictive. What anybody said, it might be a dependency in some people's minds, but it's not an addictive substance. Tobacco is far more addictive than marijuana. Let's get that one straight for a start.
Fair enough. And true. Do you like marijuana? Do you smoke that too?
It's very nice.
Okay. Now, I mean, you were making music in the 1980s. Every possible drug was available to you. Did you try them all?
No, well, I mean, over the years, maybe a long time ago when I was fitter and more able to, but I'm just a pot smoker, basically.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said. What?
Over the years, maybe there were some other things that I've investigated, but, for years it's just been the pot, really.
Just the
I don't think I've ever recorded anything not under the influence of pot, basically, so...
What?
Never.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Why is it... What does it do?
Not my recollection, because it zones your mind, it makes you concentrate, and that's why people do it. It takes everything away, it takes everything else away, and you can streamline your concentration and enjoy what you're doing.
When you are sober, when you don't have pot in your system and you look back at your songs and your lyrics, do you think, wow, I could not have written that without the influence?
Whatever it is, that's, the least conscious you are of being the creator, the better it is for the music, because the human psyche tends to sort of bring a lot of anxieties and worries and craziness to it, and I think the more you blot that out, the better it is. And I think I'm not the only person that's ever thought that. I mean, musicians are notorious for wanting to be in an altered state, so I think that's why, really, because the human mind, it tends to clutter things with appointments for the doctor, or hang on, there's a lorry going past, have I got a shopping to get or something. So minutiae gets in the way unless you kind of get rid of that. So.
What about when you go and play for people in concert? Do you need to be a little...
No, I don't really tend to get stoned then at all, no.
And stage fright, do you ever have that, or it's
not really? I mean, not years ago, yeah, it's starting out, but I think mixture of age and, the aneurysm really kind of sorted me out as far as, giving a shit. And that just made me think, that, hey, I'm here, let's get on with it, kind of thing. So I don't tend to get that much stage fright now. And mainly, I sort of know what I'm doing a lot more. So the parameters aren't going to shift, and you're suddenly going to find yourself in an unknown territory, which is what nerves comes from, I think. You're just not familiar enough with what you're doing to be confident. So when you've been doing it for 500 years or whatever it is that I've been doing it for, you tend to feel a little bit more like you're in the right place when you're on the stage.
Now, what KARL Wallinger was referring to is that in 2001, he had a brain aneurysm. He wasn't feeling well, and it was a big, big deal. So, bunch of questions about that. First of all, I am a rabbi of sorts. So, did you come to terms with death? Any big questions? Did you get religion? Did you disavow religion?
No, I haven't had religion since I was about 9, I think. No, it's a totally unfeasible idea of this whole sort of God thing. It's not really happening for me at all. So, but that's not because I take drugs. That's just because I'm a thoughtful person.
Okay, that's.
And I don't just tend to sort of myths aren't really interesting to me. I think basically I'm loosely Christian in my philosophies, and I believe in doing as much good as you can and not hurting people. And I don't think that when you don't believe in God, it necessarily means that you turn into Genghis Khan and want to kill everyone. I think you can have a Christian attitude without having the Christian beliefs in the
humanism,
mind, the blood, the bread, the body, the whole thing, God. It's all sort of like some primitive religion. Sort of, it's like a tribal thing to me. It's like a sort of anthropological question, really, of when we can stop this happening around the world, really, and get on with being human. I'm not into God.
Okay, that's cool. I kind of am in my way, but I never understood the whole Christian thing of God in a glass of wine. I prefer him in borscht. Much tastier.
There you go.
You can dilute him with sour cream, which is
would be great.
More heavenly.
And a bagel.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of the cracker and the wine, give me a bagel and borscht, and that's my religion right there. Completely believe in that. So, but did you also have to come to terms with other big questions in the sense of, did you ever worry that you were going to die?
I never did, and even though it was on the cards at one point, early on, there's like 15% chance of dying when you first have it, and there's 15% of dying in the first hour, and another 50%, etc. And I seem to outlive all those things, so that was okay. I mean, I was never personally worried. It was very strange, the whole thing. But I was talking absolute nonsense because my brain was in a mess, and my other half has still got some of the things that I've said written down. Unfortunately, I haven't got a list here, but there were quite some far-out phrases that I was making up just with an adult brain, which is quite interesting. I find it quite interesting to me anyway. But I had kind of out-of-body experiences where I was like in a stairwell which was carpeted, and there was a roadie who I never saw his face, and he was setting up all these vintage keyboards like synclaviers and clavinets on these shelves, and the stairway didn't lead anywhere, it just led up to the top of this tower, and there was nothing there was no platform or door or anything. I regularly found myself in this place, and while I was wandering around the hospital sort of thing, like with a case of the loo or something, I'd suddenly come to and I'd be walking to the toilet.
Oh, so it wasn't even like a dream where you were in bed, you were having a walking...
another reality, you know. I mean, it was a bit Star Trek, you know. It was a bit Star Trek.
How long were you in the hospital?
There's quite strange elements to it, put it that way, you know. But being somebody who obviously likes altered states, I quite enjoyed it in a way. I know that makes sense, but it was quite strange in that sense. It was quite a challenge. But it took a long time to get back to normal, but I think I'm there.
Well, it was, what, 5 years?
Traffic here.
Yeah. Where are you calling from, Washington at the moment?
I'm in Washington, yeah, in the middle of the road. No, I'm in just outside the hotel, so
But you live in England or Wales?
Where do you London, yeah, I live in London.
And with a wife and kids, were they instrumental in your recovery?
Kids, they're people, they're sort of 28 and 26.
Oh, well, wife and adults, yes.
Yeah, and our dog's Rusty as well, so...
And are your kids in music too? Your adult kids?
No. Louis sort of a linguist, and Nancy's an actor.
Oh, an actor. Oh. Did you warn them against the showbiz? Or did you say, do what you want to do?
I just tried to help them do what it was that they thought was their bliss, you know, to follow their bliss. You know, I just try to aid them in that, really, and I'm too much of a admonisher, you know. I just sort of try to help them get on with it, kind of thing, so, which is good.
Now, speaking of the theater, people might not know that one of your early gigs before things solidified with the Waterboys and with the World Party, you were the musical director for the Rocky Horror stage show.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories, any great incidents, accidents?
Yeah, it was great fun. It was a great musical. I did the job because I heard the guy was leaving. He was the musical director, and I offered my services at a very reasonable rate. I got accepted for things. It was a bit strange. I was very young. I was like 20 or something, so it was quite a young age to get that gig. And the guys in the band were all veterans of the London music scene, playing with various people, you know, in bands and on sessions and stuff. And they were a bit worried about this young kid coming in, but as soon as they met me and chatted, they were cool. They knew you could get away with anything.
Right. Well, in Rocky Horror, you can.
It was a great experience. The drummer who's dead now, Tony Hicks, he was from a band called Backdoor, and he used to bring a television in when Middlesbrough were playing football. He used to put it on his floor tom, and he used to do a sort of smash of the cymbals if they scored a goal and stuff like that. So there was quite eccentric behaviour going on, you know. And sometimes if he were late for the train that he had to take back to Brighton, he used to play the show at some ridiculous speed, and the actors used to get pretty bad out.
Oh, that's funny.
But, it was good fun and great fun, you know. You don't always rehearse with a stocking-clad, you know, what's it called?
A body stocking? What?
Wearing actress sitting on your lap while you're rehearsing, you know, so it's good.
Oh, that is good. Wow, all these years I've been doing Death of a Salesman. I should try Rocky Horror instead. Damn.
Yeah, a bit less depressing than the Death of a Salesman, that's for sure.
So how did it go from being the musical director of a Rocky Horror show to getting into the Waterboys? What was the progress?
I mean, as mad as it may seem, there's not a lot of difference, actually. I mean, the show I did because it was basically a rock show. It was a sort of classic rock from the 50s to the sort of 60s kind of music. I loved the show. I'd seen it a few years before when it was on the same run, so it's quite a strange one. But, I mean, it's basically just a good show, and I was just a musician. I didn't have an ambition to be in the theatre. I just ended up doing it as a job to sort of keep my head above water in London. But all the time I was always into writing songs and trying to get in the bands and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't really a big step out of the direction I wanted to go in anyway.
Did you apply?
Something else like Les Miserables or something.
Well, that
it would have been a different thing, but I can't stand that music, so I wouldn't have done it anyway.
Well, maybe if they played Les Mis at twice the speed to make the train, and you got out in 2 hours and 15 minutes instead of 3 hours and 15 minutes, it'd be a whole different experience.
3 minutes, actually, that would be great. To do the whole thing in 3 minutes would be brilliant, and that's about the only way I could take that to do it. To play mediocre and classical crap.
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I dream that dream of times a guy. Oh, well, there you go.
It's so bad, that show.
Yeah. Well, but you didn't say again how you went then into the Waterboys. Did you apply for a gig? Did they approach you?
No, I was reading an article in Sounds magazine, which is gone now, but he was talking about looking for a guitarist, and I phoned up and said, "Are you looking for a keyboard player?" And we got together, and then I was in, sort of thing. So that was it, really. You know, so I was just ready at that point to go out the door and literally, that was it, really. It was just, I wanted to go and do some gigs, and that became an opportunity, so I took it and was there for 2.5 years or something. So, yeah, it's a good way of getting into the business, basically, you know.
Well, yeah, and it was probably, well, certainly their best music, the two of the best albums you were involved with.
Yeah.
This is seeing Fisherman's Blues. As a matter of fact,
never did Fisherman's Blues.
Oh, you didn't? I'm sorry.
I did Big Music and This Is the Sea. And first album was done. I did the second album, the third album. I didn't do the Fisherman's Blues. That was after I left. He went to Ireland and went all raggle-taggle gypsy and everything because
sure, but
that was the option, sort of thing, you know. So.
No, I'm sorry. That was my mistake for thinking it was the album after. But did you feel constrained? I mean, here you were in a band, but it was, there was Mike Stock, obviously.
No, it wasn't trained in some respects, but I mean, he was always going to do his own thing anyway. So in the end, it just became a decision of when to go. Really, it wasn't like a big deal, you know. So,
but then why are there hard feelings, or are there hard feelings?
Partly because people are very ungenerous in their appraisal of situations. You know, they think that the story is one way when it's not, sort of thing. But I mean, hey, what can I say?
Okay. No, it's just...
There's a bit of insecurity there on his part. I don't know, but I mean, whatever it is. I won't say anything or else I have another sort of phone call or letter from him or something.
Oh, no, okay, no problem. No, I just... Because you make it sound... I thought it was a contentious split, but you make it sound like the split was okay, so I don't know why there'd be bad...
Yeah, well, I was signed to the same record company, and I'd been signed for a year and I hadn't done anything, and I just thought this is the time to go. You know, there's a particular tour coming up and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to record some things, so... That was it, really. You know,
You mentioned a phrase that is almost extinct at this point, record company. You're still doing music, you're still making music, and in fact you put out a box set a couple of years ago. How is it so different now, making music, putting out music, making CDs, for crying out loud?
Well, I think the CD was always such a crap thing anyway, that I've got no affection for it as an object or as a way of delivering sound. It's a terrible sounding piece of crap, really, isn't it? I mean, MP3s are even worse, but I mean, that's the world we live in. So I'm not like a person who sort of only plays vinyl or anything, or only uses analog equipment. I use everything. I use technology. I use, whatever it is, sort of, all the full range of technology is just what you use. But it hasn't really bothered me what's happened to companies. I just think that was karma about to happen anyway, because they sort of after the 60s. 70s, it really wasn't the same business anyway. I mean, the 80s have spent re-releasing the albums that they've made in the 70s on CD. That's how they kept their heads above water. And then in the 90s, they just lost it completely, and they never really got it back. I mean, there was one point in the late 90s, I think, when the music business used to be $14 billion or something, and then it was $7 billion.
Oh, well, yes.
The income, the gross income was like halved, so... I think there are committees of people who decide on things these days rather than single movers. I think that's where we're missing, the single manager guy or a record company guy who had a kind of attitude or opinion, and things happen because of that. These days it's more like a sort of committee of people who don't know anything about music, who are basically there to maximise profits and get people's records on adverts, and it's a whole different business, and it's a completely different thing. I think the counterculture doesn't exist. You're either on board or you're not on board, so it doesn't matter if you're not. If you're not, people just think you're mad because you're not going to make money. So,
well, but here is the question. I mean, you've said all the negative things about the ridiculousness of the record business and how they were obviously cheating people for years and throwing money away, and they had no taste in music and they made stupid decisions. Okay, that's one side of it. The other side is they were a machine. If they wanted to get a song on the radio, if they wanted to get it on the charts, if they wanted to get posters in record stores, ... Well, there isn't that anymore for artists like you. So when you release a CD, what do you do?
We have to rely on the fact that you've got to do a good record. I still believe in good music, coming through, even if it's not going to come through all the way. But I think if you're doing a good tune, I think if the tune is a good tune, I think, that still sort of holds some sort of water, that bucket. But I mean, we haven't got the same facilities to promote ourselves as being with a big label, but it's a lot happier to do it this way. You feel a lot more in control of what you're doing, and less with a bunch of people who don't know you, whole World Party, songbook and all the recordings and everything with me.
So you own all?
It's a rare case. I own all my recordings.
Wow.
That's a kind of rare thing to happen, but I feel for people who get lost, you lose their material, to record companies, and record companies can just sit on it and not do anything, or exploit it and make the money from it.
Well, so you have these World Party albums, let's say Goodbye Jumbo and Bang.
Yeah, I own them all, yeah.
Right, so do you have to, or feel you have to every few years re-release them, or are you just putting them on...
They're made available pretty much all the time anyway. We have a distribution deal. I have a label called CD Records, and that side of it's pretty well sorted out, actually. We got distribution pretty much worldwide, and yeah, I mean, it's taken care of.
Here's something that I wonder about musicians of the future, let's say another 15, 20 years from now. I mean, I grew up in the day of knowing record albums, right? So artists would plan for 30 to 45 minutes of music. Then the CD came along, and the conception was, well, it could be 30, 45, or up to 65, 70 minutes of music, and you would put that out. Is there going to be a point when artists will just, it'll either be a song whenever, or there won't be any kind of shape to determine?
I don't think there needs to be a shape, really. I mean, there can be, but I mean, it all depends. I mean, I still think in terms of a collection of songs being a kind of a point in time where you release that collection. I don't know whether it doesn't have to be an album, but it seems like a good length. But I mean, I don't think it matters really anymore what you put out, whether you put out a single track or a whole. I mean, we just put out a 5 CD. What is it? Hours and hours of music. But it's online as well. You can pick a track from it and just download that if you want. You know what I mean? There's no real way of doing it. The rules are gone. I mean, there's no rules. It's just up to you as an artist to do what you want to do.
Well, do you miss the rules?
Your own terms,
Well, I mean, no, seriously. I mean, like a poet who writes in a particular style, be it a haiku or a limerick or sonnet form. The form sometimes is helpful in determining the content. Do you think if you throw all the rules out, it's just going to be anarchy?
I think. Well, I don't know whether it's just what it is. The technology has blown up the vessel carrying the message, whatever. The technology was a great thing in the 70s and the 80s. We were in the recording world. People were looking forward to the next development, and then came the digital recorders and all this kind of stuff. But the technology basically blew the whole industry out of the water in the end, with Napster arriving and the ability of people to share files became a kind of destructive force. Having been an enabling force, it became a destructive force. And that's just one of the things you have to handle. I mean, that's what, the train came through the town,
That's fair. Now, you did put together Archaeology, which is a 5 CD set of alternate takes, live versions, unreleased things. What about new music? Are you gestating?
Oh, yeah, and I'm just in the middle of trying to obtain a new studio. I've been in the same one for 27 years, and 3 years ago I moved out for various reasons. Slight argument with some dangerous chemicals that were in the roof. When they repaired the roof, they showered me with asbestos, basically. And we had to have the men with white suits in to come and clean as much of the stuff as possible. So we lost a lot of gear, but that was 3 years ago. I've been on the road pretty much since then, just enjoying, playing live and stuff. And I've been waiting to sort of get desperate to record, and I've found a place in the West Country in England, but it's still in negotiations, so I can't really say where it is or what it is. But hopefully we'll be getting that, and I'll be locking myself away in there for a couple of months when I get back right now.
Oh, wow.
I hope a new album will be out with new material, like an album in next March, basically. That's the time we're going for, yeah.
Oh, so we'll look for that in next March. Meanwhile, of course, people can see Karl
in this world of multi-thousand releases per week.
Right. Well, by the way, we're just reminding people, if you don't want to wait for that album in March, you can go see Karl Wallinger live if you are in our neck of the woods. He's playing in Denver at the Soiled Dove. That is on June 6th. That would be, I believe, Saturday night. And then City Winery, July 8th through the 10th, like a 3-time gig.
3-night residence.
In New York, New York City. That's pretty major. Yeah. Now, you said you've been touring mostly on and off for the past 3 years. You're not a young man anymore. Does touring get grueling after a while?
Say what?
Does touring get grueling or boring or you know?
No, it's a lot of fun actually. I mean, I've probably played more in the last 3 years than we ever did when we were the band, you know, signed to the company and all this sort of stuff. We probably toured in a lot more economical way without being able to sort of cream off tour support from record companies who basically, that was just basically so managers could commission the tour support. It's a crazy world actually, so you end up in debt and we're not, so it's quite good.
Well, that isn't what...
I've actually earned money from selling records, you know, under our own label. I've earned money selling records, which I never really did before because we always had so many costs and stuff added on that we never really earned any money. So I think that's a crazy thing, you know. So it's a lot better now than it was before. But basically, it suits me fine. You know. I've always had the means of production, so as long as you have that, and that's a popular thing to have now because everybody's got a computer, you can do your music on your computer, and it's up to you to sell it in whatever way you want.
Have you noticed the difference between audiences in America and audiences, say, in England or in other faraway places that you play?
Not really, because we've mainly been working in America. So we've done things in England, which was great. We played at the Cavern, which was a friend of mine knew the guy that ran it when we came back from the gig in Glasgow. We stopped off there the night and played at the Cavern, and that was a good one to check off the list. But I mean, I think the audience thing is pretty much the same. You know, it's wherever you go. So that's good.
And how do you combat something that I mean, as silly as it sounds, the idea that there have been so many bazillions of songs written, the idea that there's no new song out there, that somebody already would have done that chord progression.
Oh, yeah, no, but I think there's always something else, you know, there's always something else. I think that whole thing is a bullshit argument, that whole sort of everything's been done, what are you going to do sort of thing. I mean, we might as well not get out of bed then, you know, I mean, it's like, what's that all about? Of course there's new ways of doing things all available to us, it's just what we're thinking of is who's going to do it, and who's going to show us what it is, you know, so there's a young kid out there somewhere who's going to amaze us.
Not waiting for the young kid to amaze you. You're a musician. You're the one who has to come up.
Old people, whatever. Old people be even more amazing because they're so old.
But even, like, when was...
An old person to amaze you, or maybe you would. Maybe an old person would amaze you by suddenly bursting into breakdance. Well, people who are breakdancing will be old pretty soon anyway, won't they? I mean, there's got to be people who are 50 who are breakdancing early on and that.
No, please, no, Karl, the last time I tried breakdancing, I broke something. Not going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's a very silly move you tried, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Yeah, just getting up off a chair is a silly move for me at my my stage of development. So, what is the most recent song that you wrote and completed? How did it come to you? Well, you know, have you recorded it yet, or have you done a demo?
I've been recording since 2001 in various ways. You know, first 5 years I was kind of feeling my way around the studio, going, "Oh my head, ow!"
Well, yeah.
But yeah, since 2005 really, I've been recording stuff. I don't know how much of that I'll put on the album. I don't know. Who knows? But I've got a lot of stuff in the can. Yeah, all the stuff from archaeology was all before the aneurysm.
Right.
I finished some tracks there that I'd written before and recorded a lot of, but I finished them off for that album. But I haven't put any new stuff on that album. So all the new stuff from aneurysm onwards is available to me to put on the new album. But I'm
That's actually a great title for the album, From the Aneurysm Onwards.
Aneurysm onwards.
Yeah. It's got a nice lilt to it. No, but my question was...
The operation is going on the lid, you know, just like...
But yeah. My question was, what is the most recent song that you finished? Was it a week ago, a month ago, when? A year ago? That you wrote. You didn't have to record it yet. That you just put pen to paper with a guitar or your keyboard and you finished writing a song.
Right, a few things. They're mostly ideas, really. I'm trying not to do anything completed until I've got the studio sorted out and I'm going in there to record it. Keep it
really?
As much as I can. The best way to do that is to leave everything rough. So I don't think there's anything really that I'd say was finished. There's things that are you know, that need a tweak here and there. But I mean, I don't know really. I don't know what to say.
No, that's very blonde on blonde era Bob Dylan. He'd like have an idea or two, but he'd wait until he got to the studio and keep the musicians waiting for half an hour while he went in another room and tapped out the lyrics, you know?
Well, hey, it's nice because I don't have to do that with the musicians because I can just I can wheel them in later, so that's okay. But at the moment, I'm just really want to get into the studio on my own for like about 2 months and just lose my music basically.
Now, since you are from...
What the plan is, these are the best laid plans,
Now, since you are from across the pond in Wales, this is a question you've been asked a zillion times, I'm sure, but what are your desert island discs?
Oh, God. I mean, the trouble with desert island discs is it'd be really nice if I had 10 things that I actually really liked but I've never heard before, because then it would give me at least 10 years to get into them.
Oh.
If you play your favourite things, you know those things so well that you end up getting completely bored. I could say Neil Young's, Harvester After the Gold Rush, or Beatles tracks, or Brian Wilson, or whatever. But you commit those to memory, so you actually go around and sing them on the desert island yourself. So there would be no point in taking that recording with you, would there? So I'd probably like things that I'd never heard.
That is great. All right, then let me turn the question around on you then.
Yeah.
If there's a song that our listeners, maybe they're perhaps not familiar with you or with World Party, is there a song or two that you would suggest to them? You start here. Of yours.
Mine?
Yeah. In other words, if they were not familiar with World Party, what are one or two songs that you would say, if you want to know what I'm about, or my favorite songs are of mine, they would be...
I don't know. I mean, is it like Today, maybe, off Bang, or Put the Message in a Box off Goodbye Jumbo, or I don't know, Way Down Now off Goodbye Ship of Fools off the first album. I don't know, it's...
Well, you're particularly picking the hits that people who know World Party know.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Is there maybe a more obscure song that you wish more people knew about of yours?
Somebody, you get these things that people call out for. Somebody called out for And I Fell Back Alone the other night, which is a track. I think is it on the first album, or is it on I think it's on Goodbye Jumbo. No, I don't know what it's on, actually. But that was funny. I suddenly started playing. I went, okay. I couldn't actually remember a lot of the words. I was stopping and making mistakes and stuff. But we got there in the end, sort of thing, and it was much appreciated. But it just reminded me that, that I wrote it was a good song. So that was nice. And I Fell Back Alone. It's quite melancholy. I don't know, really. A Sweet Soul Dream is probably a good place to start. I mean, stylistically, one of the problems we've had with marketing World Party has been the stylistic sort of width of it kind of thing. We never created a sound. It was just lots of different sounds, so there wasn't really a mark, like a product emblem. There was just a lot of sounds and music. So there's not really anything that's represented the whole thing because it changes a lot. So
that's true. I mean,
Head Off Bang, it's like a mock opera, stupid track, which is. I think there's humor in this track, so that might be a funny place to start.
Okay. Humor is important too, and I think it's true. World Party, from song to song, it can go into different genres, which is part of the fun of the band. And then sometimes you're, as I'm sure you bristle at being called Beatle-esque, but some of the songs are too,
Well, I mean, I think the thing is, I'm a lot less Beatle-esque than a lot of other people, and that was what really kind of got me in a stew about that one. Another lorry goes past.
Sure. Or pre-Oasis-esque. That we could even call World Party kind of that sometimes. Let me have a couple more quick questions for KARL Wallinger, because I know you have to be on your way. But gotta ask also, you were, as a studio musician, as a helper on some other people's work. For example, were you on the first or the second album of Sinead O'Connor, or both?
I wasn't really on the albums. I helped to get a deal, and I did a couple of tracks, but not. I don't know whether there's anything on any albums. There might be Black Boys on Mopeds or something like that. I don't know whether we did a version of that. I don't know. Can't remember actually.
Well, do you have any memories of her? Any stories? Any thoughts of what she was like?
Memories of her, but they're much too scary to tell you.
How can they be scarier about what she was doing 5 years ago? Come on.
Whatever. There's a whole different other Paul famous stories there. No, let's talk about something else, please.
Well, no, they don't have to be mean stories. They don't have to make her look crazy. They can just be, were there any times when she was really sweet and nice and normal-ish?
It was lovely to help her when she first came over to England, and it was great, and she was sweet, and she did something which was very important, to look at that hypocrisy of the church. So she's a big mover in her ways, and respect to her for that.
Yeah, it never bothered me, but then again...
things, and that's up to her to deal with, so let's talk about something else, man.
Well, yeah. No, it wouldn't bother me if she throwing up a picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. But if it's the Pope, what do I care? But what about Peter Gabriel? You've worked with him. Do you have any Peter Gabriel thoughts or stories or
Well, that
anecdotes?
was great fun. I mean, we were holed up in Real World Studios for a couple of years. Not all the time. Obviously, 2 weeks, 1 year, 2 weeks next year, working with all the artists on the WOMAD label, which is sort of ethnic music that's sort of making a bid to go sort of pop, really, and I think I saw some of the most amazing people playing their instruments that I've ever seen there. It was a really wonderful experience, and there was a tank crew, they were, inverted commas, they were a tank crew of Russians called the Tehran Quartet, who played three, what the hell are they called? Balalaikas.
Oh, wow.
They had an accordion player and three balalaikas, and they could sound like an orchestra, serious orchestra. It sounded massive, and they could sound like a folk quartet. They had comedy, and they had absolutely amazing musicianship, and they just blew me away. And drummers from Senegal, and Korean drummers and Japanese drummers, Egyptian fiddle players that played in quarter tones, and it was just a whole ballpark of all these amazing musicians. So I was just in Peter's room with Peter, in the recording area, just playing bass and playing a keyboard now and again. So I had a lot of fun doing those recording weeks. That was great.
I can imagine. And here's a question that is just the way I particularly think. After She's the One, and after that clicked with Robbie Williams, how did you stop yourself from sending Robbie Williams every song you ever wrote and begging him, can you do this one? How about this one? This is good. This will fit you.
I don't know. I don't know, really. I sort of took the word of them all. No. It's great that he did it. It kept me alive for 5 years, and all that sort of stuff. But I hope it helped him as much as it helped me, so...
Well, it certainly didn't hurt him.
As far as getting him to do everything goes, whatever he's quite welcome to. I just released it, and he did it. It wasn't something I gave to him to do,
No, certainly not. It's just that, but there it goes, and it makes all this money for you, and it helped you when you couldn't work, which was a huge...
Which is amazing, which is almost proof that there is a God, really, you know what I mean? So,
Aha! I knew I would bring you back to religion.
Yeah.
I knew the spirituality of Rabbi Sol.
It always comes back to religion, doesn't it?
Well, it comes back to KARL Wallinger, our good friend of the Daverhood now, who will be in Denver on June 6th at the Soiled Dove, and then at City Winery July 8th through the 10th. See him in Denver, see him in both places if you're bi-coastal or semi-coastal or whatever they call it. My last question for you, KARL, and I thank you so much, by the way, for spending time with us. What are, since you do have to acknowledge and deal with new technologies like MP3s and iTunes and stuff, what are a couple of things that you've been listening to by other people recently?
I don't know, I just go crazy sometimes and just get my Shazam out when I don't know what the hell it is that's playing, and hit the Shazam button and find out what it is and have a listen. I can't remember what I've been listening to lately. I really can't
Okay, well, how about this?
I have no idea what
You're just, it's still a brain thing. Your aneurysm is still like, well, I've heard a song, but...
It's still going, man. It's still going. I can't remember anything.
Well, what's the last book you've read? Oh, come on!
I can't remember.
How many fingers am I holding? No, what's a recent book that you've read?
I don't really do that kind of thing.
Oh. Okay.
No, actually, the last book I read, I don't know what it was. What was I reading? It's a Phil Brown, the engineer guy, who wrote a book about his recording techniques.
Oh, okay. Are you a techie? I guess you must be.
I'm not really. I'm a guy that gets a very complex bit of kit and never looks at the manual, and sort of might blow it up in the meantime. But eventually I get what I want out of it, kind of thing. So I don't think I'm too tech, but I'm not tech, but I'm not that interested in being, I don't know, it all depends. It's just enough to get you to be able to do what you want to do, basically. And everything should happen in the background, and I never think of things as being, oh, this is going to be great because I'm using this box. It's always to do with your mind and not the equipment. That's the thing. And I think that's what a lot of people don't.
That's what I tell my wife in bed. But I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, Rabbi, that's too much knowledge. So.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, we have been had much fun getting to know KARL Wallinger. We thank him. We wish him, first of all, health before anything else, and then many more years of making great music with yourself and with Rogue Party, and both together.
Health and anything that rhymes with it.
Yeah, you know what? Go stealthily. That'll be good. Thank you so much, KARL.
Thanks for having me.
Shalom to you.